grade, please waive your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show
Secondary scholars. I am your announcer, KUAW Wilson. Now here is our host, civilian urban educator, host Carl Boyd.
Thank you so much, KUAW Wilson. KUAW Wilson, our producer, announcer, co-host, engineer. We are certainly proud, we are certainly pleased on this particular first Saturday of the month of February, of course, meaning Black History Month in the United States of America, and in our celebration, as we do indeed honor veterans and even active duty personnel, we are always looking for those examples our young people can follow, whom they can see, touch, hear, exemplify. Today, we are honored to have John T. Hightower, and there are so many titles. When I first met you, you were at the downtown airport, air traffic controller, controlling all that flew around, by, near, and to. And I thank you, member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Thank you so much, John T. Hightower, for being on Wave Your Grades.
Well, thank you, Mr. Boyd, for having me here, and you know it's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
I see you on so many fronts, and it's very interesting, Sister DeQuay, that he did not have to travel far to get to our studio because we originate from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And Brother Hightower, you know a little bit about this arena. Tell us about your relationship to the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center.
So, as you mentioned, member of Omega Psi Phi and the current president of the Kansas City chapter, it was my goal for the chapter to get more involved in our community. When I was a boy growing up, back in Memphis, in the 70s.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Memphis, Tennessee, chauffeur town, right between South Parkway and Oaklawn.
We had to have discussed that before.
We have.
But please, go ahead.
So when I was growing up, you saw everybody in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, it wasn't the hood, it was the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Ben Lewis owned the grocery store. Mr. Cade owned the barber shop and the shoe shine shop.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Gamble was the market man.
Yes, sir.
My grandfather did everybody's taxes, and the other one, my other grandfather, was the small engine repair people. So everybody that you needed to see that was influential was in your neighborhood. This thing called segregation.
Yes, sir.
And desegregation took somebody like me out of the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
So at the
Yes,
W.B. Du Bois Learning Center, here's a place where we can come back to the neighborhood and show young men, especially young men, but young African-American women, somebody that looks like them.
Yes.
Somebody that can empathize with them.
Absolutely.
And somebody who can understand where they are, but also can help them get where they're going. So the Brothers of Omega, every first Saturday of the month, and this being our kickoff,
yes,
have a mentoring program called the IF program, based off the poem by Rudyard Kipling. And so we're upstairs with a group of young men now, giving them just some insight on where you are doesn't have to determine who you are or what you're going to become.
Outstanding. And as a matter of fact, as I say each Saturday, Sister DeQuay Wilson, please don't hesitate to jump in when you would like to be a part of the conversation, because you have such insight. And DeQuay knows something about the place where I am currently, in fact, working. Synergy Services has a youth Resiliency Center, YRC. And with those young people from ages 12 to 20, I do group. And I have 3 titles for the group where they are engaged.
Mm-hmm.
One is Judge Not. And I do a group with the young people ages 12 to 20 about the fact that wherever they come from, wherever they are, as a matter of fact, whatever their circumstance, when they participate in the group, we do not judge what they are saying. In fact, we don't even judge the way they say it, as long as what we're talking about has some merit as it relates to who they are.
Mm-hmm.
A second is titled Teach Me You. Now, Brother John Hightower, almost 1 month from today, 1 month from yesterday, March 3rd, will be my 81st birthday. Now, in as much as I was 17 in 1959,
Mm-hmm.
much of what I think I know might not resonate with 2023 young people, so I have a session called Teach Me You.
Yes, sir.
The only reason I engaged this was because you mentioned Memphis, Tennessee. Because the third session that I do with the young people is titled The Elephant in the Room. That's the title of my session. As a matter of fact, Thursday's session was a session on the elephant in the room. Here is a gentleman, a distinguished gentleman, February 2023, from Memphis, Tennessee, when the world is observing the aftermath of something that occurred last week in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you don't mind, we weren't prepared for this, did not know it was going to come up. You mentioned Memphis, telling us John T. Hightower's thoughts on what's going on right now in America, particularly Memphis.
So we'll start with Memphis, and then we'll go across America. So what's happening in Memphis now is a culmination, Mr. Boyd, of what I will call systematic programming.
Okay.
Meaning, we have this thing called policing.
Yes, sir.
And in policing, there's a term that's used, serve and protect.
Yes.
That's what they use.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Yes, sir.
Serve and protect.
Yes, sir.
But in the underlining of the serve and protect is the tip of the iceberg. But you know, an iceberg is much bigger when you get under the bottom.
My God.
So the serve and protect is to serve and protect who? Why was policing created?
Ooh, come on now.
So you always have to go to the foundational factor to get to the root cause of the problem.
Yes, sir.
So what we have been doing in America for so long is put a Band-Aid where a tourniquet should be.
Yes, sir.
So what happens in Memphis? You have young police officers. Doesn't matter if they're black or white.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, we got African-American police officers.
Yes.
But they have this badge, this 10 with a number on it that makes you say, because I have this badge, this 10 with a number on it, then I'm superior to you and you should do what I say.
Yes.
Point blank. Doesn't matter that I'm a black male, seeing you as a black male, and I understand your plight and I understand the disparities that you are faced with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the police. You do as I say.
Yes.
Now, there's other underlying factors that hadn't come out yet, and we'll get to when all the facts are laid out. But for a black male to beat another black male because I have a badge,
Yes.
and you do as what I say, What need is the KKK?
My Lord,
I'm just asking the question.
my Lord. As a matter of fact, when I do workshops with community police relations, it is largely centered on race relations. And when I do that, I talk about encounters primarily in Chicago, Illinois, but I have had a singular incident in Kansas City, Missouri, where I was arrested and put in handcuffs because I wasn't walking on the sidewalk. But at any rate, in Chicago, interestingly enough, there were two black officers who wanted to make sure that everybody understood that they were the baddest brothers, not just on the block,
On the planet.
on the planet. So now, therefore, when I tell the story, because I am concerned about race relations, I am dishonest, I am disingenuous if I do not, unfortunately, include a couple of run-ins with black police officers.
Absolutely.
And this one gentleman, I have told the story to KUAW, you're tired of hearing it, but I used to go roller skating. As a matter of fact, Brother John Hightower, I am so old that we used to go roller skating to organ music when I was coming up on the south side of Chicago, and Todd could play that organ, brother. I'm at the skating rink, and 8 brothers came to take my money. And when they said they were going to take my money, I said, well, I can't allow you to take my money because I only have $1.38. It's going to cost me a quarter to get on the bus, and I take the bus to school, and tomorrow morning I'll have to spend another quarter, and I'll have to save a quarter to get back home, and I always get an ice cream sandwich and a bag of potato chips, so I can't share my money with you. Well, of course. Oh, this is a smart little something.
Right.
If you don't give me some money right now, and then he called the fellas over, I'm going to get them to take it all for you. And this fella actually hit me in my jaw. I mean, he almost knocked me down. Now, this was 1955. He had on glasses. Back in the day, we said, take off your glasses. I waited for him to take off his glasses and tried to knock him out. So now here are these 8 fellas around me, and I'm fighting. And this officer, who had the reputation, hit me 5 times with a baton. And I tried to reach back and hold it while I was holding off the fellas trying to take my money. And I'm saying to him, you hitting the wrong one.
Right.
His response was, all y'all get off the street and all of that. It was not about who was right or wrong. It was about his establishing his reputation for being the baddest cop around. And if you see him, it does that. You see, so from John T. Hightower's teaching us on this day, we're talking about symbolism that goes all the way back to where?
Slavery.
Come on.
Yes, sir.
And so it is that you, on February 4th, 2023, can regale us with stories about the brilliance of Memphis, Tennessee. 308 Poplar Avenue. That's where Al Green's studio
Yes,
was.
sir.
Watt Stacks was
Yes,
in
sir.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Beale Street,
Yes, sir.
Memphis, Tennessee.
BB,
Come
Bill
on.
Street Boy. That's what it stands for.
Now.
His older brother, Albert King.
Is that
yes,
right?
Sir. Rufus and Carla Thomas.
Well, now, Al Jackson played drums for Al Green, and he played behind us. We were recording in the studio, and Al Jackson came in the studio one time looking all bow-legged and funny, and he looked up at Willie Mitchell, who was the producer, and he said, Willie, can you call somebody over at Stax to come and play? Because he was going to play in the session, the drum. And Willie said, boy, what's wrong with you? Sit on down. The studio is ready. We're getting ready to do something. He said, man, I can't play no drums today. He said, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I played behind Rufus Thomas last night, and he did the funky chicken for 4 hours.
Yes, sir.
True story. But what I'm getting at is that's amusing. What John T. Hightower would teach us to know is how brilliant the history of Memphis is, and the elephant in the room is all of that is disqualified because we have to talk about 5 who looked like the same person that they beat to death.
Yes, sir.
But God is good.
All the time he is.
And there are certain things that we can use and that we can help. So on our program today, Wave Your Grades, with our very special guest, John T. Hightower, while we lament what has gone on in the last couple of weeks, he is here to tell us, DeQuay Wilson, the good things that he's doing, that W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center is doing, that Omega Psi-Phi is doing. And among those programs is IF. Now, what if we ask him what else he's up to? Tell us about it.
So not only that, Mr. Boyd, which you alluded to earlier, I was an air traffic controller, and when you met me, I was a controller at the downtown airport.
Yes.
I went on to be the air traffic manager at the downtown airport, and then ran an operation at FAA headquarters since I have retired. But in that time, I partnered with a group right out of the downtown airport called Red Tail Academy.
Really?
Red Tail.
Wow.
And
Did you
Red-
see?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just come on in if you need to, Sister DeQuay. But Sean Edwards invited us to see Red Tails.
Yeah.
But please go ahead.
So the Red Tail Academy, which was founded by Jeff Bolden, who is a captain, a brother,
Okay.
with Delta Airlines. And
Yes.
that program, Red Tail Academy, is made to introduce our children that look like us
Yes, sir.
to aviation, and the essence and hopes to make pilots, mechanics, air traffic controllers, to get people who are not generally seen
Yes.
in the public light vision to say, you can do it as well.
Wow.
And I always say, old country boy like me from Memphis, Tennessee,
Yes, sir.
make a 14 on the ACT. A 14. Yeah, 1-4. They give you 12 points, put your name on it. If I could do it, if I can go 17 years old,
Yes, sir.
and I can
Yes,
make
sir.
my way through the Navy, work my way up from a controller, starting out at the Kansas City Downtown Airport,
Yes, sir.
to when I retired, I got up from my office in D.C., and I look to the right, and I can see the U.S. Capitol, and I look to the left, and I can see the National African American.
Sir.
Who came?
My Lord, you see, it is not just exciting, but it is also very important. And so on Wave Your Grades, KUAW.org, where we ask that American students dedicate academic excellence to those who have served, veterans in particular, but certainly active duty personnel as well. We are honored, we are privileged to have a John T. Hightower. So please, for programs in which you are engaged that offer an opportunity for young people whose parents might be watching, or the young people themselves, how do they contact you, and what are the pertinent questions they need to ask to become involved in some of what you're doing?
So they can reach me via my email at JT Hightower, HIGHTOWER Jr. at yahoo.com, JT Hightower Jr. at yahoo.com, or even you can call my cell phone,
Okay.
816-520-0203. And you know, I'm going to answer somebody's call, because it's all about service. And you made me think about when you talk about veterans, and we're in this time of Black History Month, I often hear black folk
Yes, sir.
say that nowhere in the world I would serve this country.
Right.
And, you know, and a lot of us, when that argument is used, points right to Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was the greatest.
Yes.
I mean, the greatest of all time.
Yes.
And Muhammad Ali had his own beliefs
Yes.
about service to this country. But I challenge especially us, black folk, when we talk about service to this country, to know who Crispus Attucks was, the first to give his life
Come on.
in the American Revolution.
Yes, sir.
And then I want to take you to Henry O. Flipper, that for 4 years he went to the academy and no one ever spoke or said a word to him. And then to the Tuskegee Airmen, where folks didn't even want to fly with him, but when they saw that red tail
Come on now.
on that plane,
Say it.
and all those bombers said, those escorts that we want, because they never lost a mission while they were flying. And all these men and women saw that service to their country meant more to them, because in the belief or the disbelief or the misnomer we have is we built this country more so than anybody else.
Yes, sir.
So the service and dedication that we have to our country is not to some flag that we don't have patriotism to, but it's to the heart and the land and the soul that we are willing to die for. And if it was not for my patriotism, I wouldn't have the opportunity and be where I am now.
That is so very important, because there are some people who are really misinterpreting what we're talking about when we say patriotism.
Yes, sir.
And in our case, and in the case of many others, patriotism means correcting wrongs. As a matter of fact, I say that among the most patriotic Americans we have seen was the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes, sir.
Now, why do I say that? I say that because of all of what he saw that needed to be corrected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember in my listening to the Reverend Dr. King his ever saying we need to leave the United States. I have heard him say we need to leave the United States better than we found it.
Yes, sir.
But if indeed we trusted those who were in charge enough to protest with the expectation that improvements would be made, that's patriotism, brother.
Yes, sir.
Not only that, it has been my experience, and please, you can tell me about yours, but of those black and white, red and brown and yellow veterans whom I have met, and DeQuay and I have had the honor of having on this program, so far, DeQuay Wilson, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't want to sound like I'm being facetious when I say this, but I am offering a rhetorical question, as it were. And that question would be, have we ever had a guest who suggested that they enjoyed war? Have we ever had a veteran who said, I want to get back into the action? I want to go. Not one, not ever. When we talk about patriotism and when we talk about honoring, quote, warriors, unquote, we are suggesting that never should they be deployed and return to a neighborhood that's more dangerous than where they served.
No, sir. No, sir.
That's on us. And that's why John T. Hightower Jr. is important to us, because the problems we face are not going to be solved this weekend, probably not next week.
No.
They're going to be solved by the young people with whom you are working today in this W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And by the way, Omega Psi Phi's presence at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center goes beyond if. Tell us about your relationship.
Yes, sir. It goes way beyond if. The auditorium that is the main auditorium is painted purple and gold in honor of William A. Love, who was the brother who came to Kansas City and founded the chapter October 1st, 1922. But also in his profession, Dr. Love was a physician that was old at the Providence, which you remember that hospital,
Yes.
in general. But Dr. Love saw a need for African American presence in Kansas City to where we stood out and we showed our people, and I mean our people,
Yes.
us, that look like us, that you can overcome despite what it is. So let me go back to patriotism for a moment. See, patriotism, a lot of people talk about waving the flag, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not celebrating the 4th of July. That's fine. You don't have to do that. But patriotism for me is fill out the census.
That is so important.
Patriotism for me,
Come on.
register to vote.
Now.
Yes, sir.
Patriotism to me, reach out to your state senators, your state congressmen, your U.S. representatives, your governor. That's patriotism.
Come on.
Patriotism is, it doesn't matter how long I have to stand in this line to cast my vote, but my voice is going to be heard. See, patriotism was somebody who wasn't even a veteran, Fannie Lou Hamer, that was a sharecropper, that said it's important that we become registered voters. See, that's patriotism. See, patriotism is, if you complain, you got to have a solution to the problem.
I'm sick and tired of being.
Sick and tired.
Watch out.
That's patriotism.
Now, you have an opportunity for young people to get a scholarship. I don't know how imminent that is when that comes up.
So we have the scholarship available right now. Beta Omega is in the process of taking applications for seniors in the Kansas City metropolitan area, and we are awarding 5 $2,000 scholarships. And you can get that information at www.betaomega1922.com. That's www.betaomega1922.com. All the application information is there. You can submit your application for the scholarship via the electronic portal, and our scholarship committee will take it, review it, and they plan to award the scholarships the 1st of April. So we're awarding 5 $2,000 scholarships because we don't want to make a difference between Carl Boyd's
Yes.
3.5 GPA or John T. Hightower Jr. 2.1 GPA. Because, see, we find what we do is we find where the need is.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what we assess. So we don't make a difference between A through Z. You're all equal to us because you gotta start somewhere to get somewhere.
Man, you know what I have to do to Quay, and this is the first time that I've had to approach it, and this is 2023. It might be kind of difficult because it was 1959 when I graduated from high school, and I need somehow to find my instructors. They didn't know I had a 3.5. I need to call somebody.
Right.
Hightower knows some stuff I didn't know, but I did get out. I was able to go to Chicago Teachers College. As a matter of fact, 1960 until 1964, $20 a semester.
Wow.
$20 a semester. But as it relates to the scholarship and the information you're seeking, the topic that they can use, what would the scholarship
So
be about?
the information on the scholarship is just the student's name,
Mm-hmm.
what school they go to, what university or college they plan to attend, and then they have to write an essay, Mr. Board, about them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
This is personal, so it can
Yeah,
be.
yeah, it's an essay about them. You know, what's your need in this scholarship?
Okay.
I might be John T. Hightower Jr., and my father is in prison. My mother is a substance abuser. I'm the oldest of 4 kids.
Yes.
So I have to get my 3 younger ones up in the morning to take them to school and get them on the way.
Yes, sir.
And then sometime I have to go to school, dirty clothes on. Sometime I hadn't eaten because I done fed my brothers and sisters. But I know that this scholarship will help propel me and get me on the path of life where I need to be. We want to hear your story.
And sitting across the table from a young lady whose mother has her own business, whose father is an entrepreneur and doing quite well, and whose brothers and sisters already are doing fantastic. Both of those young people can sit at the same table.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is so very important, because we don't glamorize when someone overcomes a deficit, but they are not penalized for having a deficit in the first place.
Not at all.
And then we glamorize when they win that scholarship.
Yes, sir.
But we don't give extra points because they were born with that silver spoon, so to speak. And this is so good.
The playing field is level for us.
Okay. Say again,
www.betaomega1922.com.
And by April, or I'm sorry, you said the deadline.
Scholarship deadline is March the 4th.
March
so
the 4th.
They have exactly
1
30
month.
days.
30 days.
30 days.
All right.
Yeah, day after your birthday.
Yes.
It's due.
Well, this is such an honor, and before the program is over, what we have been doing lately is allowing something that I refer to as Carl's commentary on academic patriotism. Mm-hmm. So before we even get to that, that's several minutes from now, let me ask if DeQuay would, announcement page 2, and we have for the Wave Your Grades program, our not-for-profit is called Stutes for Boots. And Stutes is an acronym that stands for Students Theater of Operations, the school. Stutes. For Boots, and that is for troops. And Stutes for Boots is allowing for young people year-round, all year long, to submit essays. And I'll stop there and let DeQuay Wilson tell you what the announcement is, and then we'll go right on ahead.
Because we do understand the importance of academics. Students, you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we say organization on purpose, Stutes for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Did Not Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school. Could be a teacher, custodian, coach, cafeteria worker, bus driver, administrator, or any other adult military veteran. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Wave Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. Please send your entry or inquiry to stutesforboots@gmail.com. Again, that is Stutes for Boots, STOOTSFORBOOTS @gmail.com. Back to Carl.
Thank you so very, very much. So the first time we did this, as a matter of fact, DeQuay, so far, the only person cited for writing the essay was a young lady whose name is Syria Shields. And it turned out that she had been meeting at the home of educator Carl Evans weekly. Carl Evans, an iconic educator, he has passed away now, was the owner of T-Shirt King on 12th and Brooklyn.
Right next to Gates.
Gates.
Yes, sir. Right there at Gates Plaza.
Yes,
sir.
indeed. And he allowed folks to come to his home and offer insights on things that were going on. So when I asked for the essay, Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes, Syria Shields found out that Carl Evans, in addition to all of the things that he stood for, was a veteran. And we are seeing, DeQuay, every day people whom we admire for all kinds of reasons, and then in casual conversation find out that they have served. But, Brother John T. Hightower, you and I know that those who are, quote, truly heroic, unquote, don't go around talking about it.
No.
So she wrote the essay, Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Hero. They were cited on the program and outside of the program. So what we are suggesting to our young people is Doc Bass has a quote. Doc Bass is a columnist for the Kansas City Call paper, and he does the religion column.
Mm-hmm.
And Doc Bass' quote is, "The relevance of intelligence." I love that, because what researchers have found is when students feel that what they're studying is relevant to what they want to pursue, they tend to do better,
Mm-hmm.
which only makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, therefore, we are suggesting to young people that if you really want to honor those who are serving or who have served, then just make a statement that says you appreciate them for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. So, John T. Hightower, here's a question that I've asked some other guests as it relates to what the headlines look like in today's world, and yet what causes you to be optimistic about our near and distant future.
That's a great question, because the ACT, which students are required to take to go to college,
Yes, sir.
LSAT they're required to take to get into law school, GMAT that they're required to take if they want to go to grad school, dissertation they are required to write if they're finishing their PhD. All those things that I named are subject to another person's opinion. And one thing my father would tell me, which we on a PG radio station, he said, but the opinion is,
Okay,
and some of them stink.
watch out.
So what makes me optimistic about our future is even your hand touching my hand. But if a match was lit in that corner, we could see the light. So it doesn't matter how dark the day is.
Come on.
Long as there's just a little brightness that I can see, I'm optimistic about our future. And your now does not determine your tomorrow. See, I was told in May of '89 by an algebra teacher, who I'll let her remain nameless, that I was going to be nobody.
Ooh, that's all you needed.
She said, that's all. Listen,
Come on.
in my office, I had her name on a marquee on my board. So just in case I was facing something tough and having a little tough time,
Yes, sir.
I would look and read her name.
Come on.
And that allowed me to start thinking of a solution to the problem. What we have to do, Mr. Board, is remember our past, recognize our present, and rewrite our future.
Watch out.
And when we do that, optimism is always there. And when you keep searching, you'll find it. My father used to say, keep digging till you hit solid ground. He said, then start building yourself up.
Wow.
So the optimism is we just keep digging. Despite what the headlines say about those officers in Memphis, despite what the headlines say about the disparities that are in our school system, despite what the headlines say about African American males. And despite what the headlines say about our single-parented mothers' home, and despite the statistics that the government wants to put out there about us, there's still optimism.
Yes, sir.
I see it in the IF program.
Come on now.
I see it in my 3 daughters.
That's what I'm talking
There's
about.
optimism. And as long as we can see one flicker of light, I'm okay.
Well, now, John T. Hightower Jr., DeQuay, you will enjoy the answer to my next question. I promise you. We were talking about the auditorium upstairs and the scholarship program, and you have introduced and discussed Omega Psi Pi fraternity. And I was remiss, the program is not over yet, so I still have an opportunity to offer Brother Hightower a Crimson and Cream T-shirt.
I'll pass. I appreciate the offer, but ideally so, pass.
And as it turns out, the subject of Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes, and a gentleman who is one of the founders of the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, Leon Dixon, are both members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
This program is called Wave Your Grades. The very first Wave Your Grades program that we did was dedicated to Joe Louis Maddox, who happens to be a member of Phi Beta Sigma. So that when I think about Greek letter organization, as a matter of fact, speaking of age, when I became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, there were 8 black fraternal organizations, fraternities, and sororities, and now it's the Divine 9.
Mm-hmm.
And for purposes of our discussion and relationship, what are some things that we need to do as fraternities and sororities, setting the examples for young people that will help them to understand our similarities?
That great question. And you know the rivalries. I don't have to tell you. You were made in 1961,
Yes,
10
sir.
years before I was born.
So, don't say that so loud.
I don't have to tell you, Mr. Boyd, but the things that makes us different is what really makes us the same.
Yes.
We have a passion to see that our communities can overcome the disparities that we face. Now, how do we do that as these 9 black
Yes.
Greek organizations? 5 male, 4 female. So what should we be doing? One, we should be partnering together and holding town hall meetings for folks that's running for office. What we have to do is educate our community on the importance of voting and showing how individuals from each one of our organizations work collectively together. Perfect example, Anthony Ely, who is the state rep for the 36th district, which is Grandview, is the youngest elected to that position in Grandview and the only African American, and happens to be a Kappa. I've invited Representative Ely to the Omega chapter meeting in February to come out and tell us, what are you doing
Thank
in
you.
Jefferson City to promote what we are looking for in our community,
Yes.
and how are we as the men of Omega Psi Phi trying to help advance your cause? Not that you're a Kappa,
Thank you.
but you're an African American
Thank you.
male in our community that folk need to know who you are. Our organizations here in Kansas City, we need to have a Divine 9 Day to the Hill in Jeff City, to where all 9 organizations have representatives that we go and meet with state reps who represent the communities that we live in and tell them, these are our concerns. How are you addressing them in Jeff City?
This is so very crucial, so very important. As a matter of fact, we could have an excursion to Washington, D.C., we can say to Kamala Harris, pink and green notwithstanding, you're all our sister.
Correct.
And when we think about Brother Hightower, leaders in our lifetime from the African American community, while I have not the data in front of me, I would suggest that prominent leadership number percentage-wise in the high 80s to the low 90s Greek letter membership.
Yes, sir.
So that when I had the opportunity in Chicago, Illinois, of working with Reverend Jesse Jackson for about 7 years on the Push for Excellence program, Omega Psi Phi. When you hear I Have a Dream and you're looking at the Reverend Dr. Martin
Yes,
Luther
sir.
King, we can go on and on.
Yes, sir.
But you are so right when you say that what we have in common is so extremely important that we just don't have the time or the luxury to linger on differences when these young people they need to see
Yes.
a united front.
Have to.
It is absolutely imperative. I want people to come and see that auditorium upstairs. I want young people to take advantage, and I'm going to have you repeat, of that scholarship program. That's extremely
Yes, sir.
important. And then you and I can talk about something that is extremely important that Alpha Phi Alpha is doing, and our young people need to see that on an ongoing basis. I am afraid that perhaps in my lifetime, and I really have to look at it and discuss it with my wife, talk about it, but I am afraid that in my lifetime I have not seen more divisiveness than I am seeing now on the national scene. We have a responsibility to help turn that around.
Mr. Boyd, you just used the word, and I'm going to take it and steal it from you. I'll let all our listeners hear it. But, it is imperative. It is imperative
Yes, sir.
because the time is running short.
Ooh.
We know not the next day or the next hour. So do we want to be stuck in a state of shoulda, coulda, woulda, or I did?
Come on. Thank you. Absolutely.
Now you choose which one.
Come on.
Because you either hot or you're cold. Because lukewarm don't work. And how America is divided today, your lukewarmness won't get you what we need in order to ensure that our next generation and generation after that has a sure foot foundation. And the only way that we can do it at these Greek letter organizations is show a united front, like you said, and work together. We can have our fun at the step shows
Yes,
and all
absolutely.
those places,
Play ball
and
against
play-
each other and all of
exactly.
that.
Water balloon fight, whatever we need to do. But when we're out here on this voter registration drive campaign, we need to be in lockstep with each other.
Ooh, let me tell you something, 2023. 2024 is coming up.
No, 2024 is here.
Come on.
2024 is here.
We absolutely need to get serious about that.
And if you are not registered to vote for this upcoming April election, you need to get registered to vote.
Yes, sir.
And people say, what, April? I thought we voted in November. Yeah, you do on the national level.
Thank you.
But you got city councilmen that you need to be voting
And
for.
what is the cliche? All politics are local.
Are always local. They always local.
That is absolutely important. As a matter of fact, somebody was asking me if I had met Barack Obama when I was living in Chicago, and I had not. But I was saying that he did something that is not necessarily exclusively Chicago, but certainly peculiar to Chicago, and that is precinct politics. Chicago politics are run by door to door. Chicago politics are run by precinct, so that you have a small group that you pull together And that small group goes to get another group, goes to get another group. And apparently, from what I've heard, Barack Obama became a master at local politics, neighborhood politics, precinct politics before national politics. And here we are together. And as we are together in a small setting, that becomes large when we just pull together.
Have you ever saw an apple tree?
Uh-oh.
An apple tree,
Come on.
meaning singular.
Yes.
The apple tree
Yes.
produce only one apple.
Now you're talking. Thank you very much. What's his name, John? Appleseed? No, Hot Top. Listen, I have this commentary that DeQuay is going to introduce, and then I'll read because I'm making it a weekly thing now. So before I do that, in case I run over, please repeat contact information and any announcements you want to repeat.
Your listeners can reach me at email JT Hightower, HIGHTOWER, JR @yahoo.com. Also, you can call me on my cell phone, 816-520-0203. The Omega Psi Phi Beta Omega scholarship information is at www.betaomega1922.com. Don't call Mr. Boyd and not leave a message.
Okay.
You know, a lot of these young
And
people
you
these
do
days,
call back.
I
You
do call back
definitely.
when a message is left.
Yes, sir.
But if somebody call and say, well, he missed that call, he'll call back. No, I don't know your number. So I ain't going to do no calling back unless you leave a message. But I will call back.
Well, let me say a profound thank you to John T. Hightower, Jr. for the visit today, praying that you will come back as things progress, and we will continue to make the announcements about the scholarship fund or other things that you want us to do.
Yes, sir.
God bless you. Thank you so very, very much. And is this something that you should or I should read? Here, let me let you read that.
Yeah. Also, we have our blood drive that's going on now. Well, it starts February 19th through the 25th, and that's something else that's important in our community because of how we are affected by sickle cell and bone marrow. And we have to become educated about our health conditions and what affects our community. Our women, African-American women, are affected by fibroids when other communities are not faced with that. Sickle cell affects more people of color than anyone else. So we have to become educated on our health conditions as well. So we got a lot of work to do, Mr. Boyd.
God bless you. Thank you so very much, John T. Hightower, Jr. And now our announcer, DeQuay, will let me get into the commentary.
Well, I want to remind you all real quick to send entry or inquiry to stootsforboots@gmail.com for with a title or with an essay titled "Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes." You can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Now, with that said, I want to thank you all for joining us on your Stoots for Boots Waive Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 to 2 Central Standard Time right here at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now, our host, Carl Boyd, will close with Carl's commentary on academic patriotism and his daily message for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
6 important, inspiring headlines. 1. Army Captain Anthony McLean leads the Illinois National Guard's Diversity, Inclusion, and Access Program. 2. Retired Army Master Sergeant Andrea Mai, the United States Naval Academy Prep School Dean, is an alumnus of Central High School and our daughter. 4. Defense Department leaders announced the creation of a 15th university-affiliated research center associated with Howard University. The research center is sponsored by the United States Air Force and is focused on tactical autonomy. And 6, is this 6 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A new initiative is set to reinforce the historical connection between Tuskegee Airmen and Air Force Global Strike Command. And this is number 6. Romay Davis received the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor Congress extends on behalf of the American people, for her service in the 6th 888 Central Postal Directory Battalion in World War II. 855 black women. She was 103 years old when she got it. So that when we talk about, historically speaking, Black History Month, the story, Carter G. Woodson, February 1926. It all began with the celebration of Douglas Day by Washington, D.C. schools after the death of abolitionist Frederick Douglass in February 1895. Mary Church Terrell called for the observation in, quote, colored schools, unquote, on January 12, 1897. The D.C. School Board set aside February 14th, Douglass's known birthday, beginning in 1897. By the 1900s, Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of black history, became world-renowned for his deep knowledge of Negro history, and with the help of his Omega Psi Phi fraternity brothers, they created the Negro History and Literature Week. Then in 1926, Woodson announced the first Negro History Week. He used a week in the month of February because of the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. In the 1940s, citizens in West Virginia began celebrating what they called Negro History Month, but by the 1960s, college students started leading the charge for deeper study. Students and educators at Kent State University first came up with Black History Month in 1969. In 1976, President Gerald Ford encouraged national recognition of black accomplishments. There is more. We're at the end of the program, so I must say this. To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, February 4th. Show respect for your parents and for your teachers and for those who answered the call. When you do your best to pass every test, you show respect for them all. My name is Carl Boyd. Thank you, John T. Hightower Jr., Sister DeQuay Wilson. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.